Taylor and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. So today's video is going to be all the books I read this summer. I normally wouldn't do this video, but because I didn't really do any wrap-ups, like monthly wrap-ups all summer, I figured to just combine it into like one big summer book read thing, because I did move this summer. I started a new job, I started a new college, a bunch of things happened, so I didn't really have time for YouTube, honestly, and I also didn't read as much as I normally would. So like, don't get me wrong, I have a good amount of books here, but not as much as if I would like on my normal pace. So we're just gonna combine it all together, and I thought this would be a fun video. Also, if my bookshelf looks severely empty, it's because all of the books are in front of me that I did read this summer. We're not gonna go in any particular order, and then we'll go through all my copies, and then we'll go on. I read a few books on my Kindle, and yeah, I'm just gonna give a quick like brief what I thought about them, and yep. But yeah, now I'm officially settled. Most of the traveling is done for like, you know, summertime. I'm in a good school routine. I have my job like scheduled down, stuff like that. I definitely want to get back into filming videos now that I have my book room. I definitely want to take a book room tour and show you guys how I decorated this room and stuff. So, and also my wedding is coming up in a few months, so I feel like I'll have a lot of like wedding content to film. Just grabbing from whatever is on the stack first. So the first book we have is My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. I actually did like this book. I know a lot of people kind of said like there's not really a plot to it. It's kind of insta-lovey, I don't know. I thought it was different and fun. I really liked the whole like, obviously I read it while it was summertime, so the vacation vibes were good. And then I also love a good like thriller, and this is definitely not a thriller, but it has like a little bit, a hint of like a mystery going on with like throughout it. So I don't know, I really liked it. I like the cover. I think it's just like a really fun read. Like, it doesn't take a lot of brains to read this. Like, I don't know if I'd recommend it necessarily, but it's not a bad book, if that makes sense. I think I gave this like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And while we're on the topic of Tessa Bailey, this is actually the first book I had read by her. It happened one summer. I think I read this literally in May. It was like one of the first books I read. I actually read this while I was in the process of moving, so I don't know if that kind of like hindered my opinion, but I really did enjoy this book, and I know it's so popular, so I don't know. I kind of want to reread it in the future. I think the time in my life I was going through like a really hard reading slump because I was so much anxiety with moving, so much was going on, and I didn't really have time to like sit and read for hours like I normally do. It was kind of like reading a few pages every other day. I think it took me like 3 weeks to get through this book, guys, and I normally could read like at least a book a day if I'm like really in it. So it just shows I kind of was going through like a bad time in my life, I guess. Next, I have Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This is actually the last book I read in August, because that's when we're ending the summer thing. So this was amazing. I read this in a day. I was obsessed with it. I actually have had this on my shelf, like on my TBR list, literally for months. Like, I've had this book for months, and then Sarah Caroli posted about like how good it was, and I was like sold. I definitely moved into like my thriller era at the end of August, so this is like one of the first books I picked up, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It was a great thriller, and I loved it. Next, I have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I definitely went through her backlist this summer. I read almost all of her books. I think I only have 2 more books, and one of them being Carrie Soto's Back, which is actually on my shelf, and then a different one. But I really love this book. It's definitely worth the hype in my opinion. I like how different the format of it was. Like, it all takes place basically in a day, but then it has like some backstory to it, and I love how it just kind of included other people in her other books. I think that's just like a fun little universe, and I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it a 4.5 stars. So yeah. Next, I read Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. I actually read it in the old copy. This is a brand new one. I did not read like this book of it, but I sold my old one and bought the new one because I'm trying to buy like the new cover so they all match, because I haven't read the rest of this series yet, so I want them all to match. So yeah, I definitely like the new cover a lot better than the old cover, but I didn't really enjoy this book. It definitely is like a cheating trope in a way. I don't know if that's like a trope, but I definitely don't like reading about cheating. I don't agree with it, and I feel like you can do it in like a right way where it's not really cheating in a way, but like this to me was just a little, it felt sleazy. I didn't love it. I didn't love the main characters. It just kind of was confusing of why they couldn't just like break it off. Like, Next book we read, Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This was an amazing book. 5 stars. Like, oh my god, it's so freaking good. Definitely one of my favorite books of 2022 so far. I can't like give you a top 5 yet, because I think at the end of the 22 I'm gonna like go through and decide, but this is definitely runner up there. She's up there. I love this book so much. It like really just tugged at the heartstrings. It's just like a beautiful romance novel, and yeah. Then I read 2 of the Magnolia Parks series books. I read Magnolia Parks, which is the first one, and then Daisy Hates, which is the second one. I have not picked up the third one yet just because of how expensive they are, and I like to like kind of give myself a little monthly budget, like how much to spend on books. And if I were to buy all three of these at once, it'd be $60. They're literally insanely priced. I also think because they're so hyped up at the moment, maybe the price will drop eventually and I can get that third book. I'm not in a really rush, to be honest. I really enjoyed the first book. It gave Gossip Girl vibes. It gave Chuck and Blair. I loved it. It was very toxic and different than like most romance novels that I've read. I feel like this book was actually where like the guy and the girl were both doing like shady, crappy things to each other, where most of the time it's only like one of the characters and then it's like Grumpy Sunshine. Like, it's just a lot different from what I normally read, so I think I enjoyed it a lot more. The second book I really did not like. I think I gave it like 2.5 stars. It was kind of confusing to me until I went back and read some good reviews and I was like, oh, that's what was taking place. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, but I do love the covers. I think these are so pretty. Once I get like more bookshelves and I have room to like turn books around, I definitely want to like display these because I think they're so cute. But yeah. Next, I have 7 Days in June. As you can see, I annotated this. I kind of went through a phase where I haven't annotated in a while. This was one of the ones I did annotate. It was so beautiful. I love the cover, but I love this book so much. First of all, it speaks a lot on like minorities and the like issues in their day-to-day life that they face, and I feel like being not a minority, it's really refreshing to read about that because it helps, like, I don't know, I think the more we're exposed to it, the less like taboo of a subject it becomes. I feel like sometimes people feel uncomfortable to talk about that. And yeah, I feel like as an elementary education major, I learn, like, we take so many courses on like diversity, including everyone, etc. And so reading a book, like, this is the first book that I think I read where it talks about like major like current world issues that we still haven't to this day. Like, it's not history, it's literally happening right now. I really enjoyed that because I feel like more people need to read books like this to open up their eyes if their eyes are not already open. We're Interrupted, Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love this book as well. I honestly think I've loved every book that I've read by her so far. She is just definitely one of my favorite authors. This book really is just going through grief, and I liked how real and raw it was. And it wasn't really a romance novel. It was more about her relationship with the mother-in-law actually, and like kind of mending a relationship, which again was a lot different than most of the books I've read. So that could be a reason why I liked it a lot more. And yeah, I also love her new covers that she's like came out with. They're really cute. And I read Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. Like I said, I'm trying to make my way through her backlist. I usually read about 1 to 2 Colleen Hoover books a month. And I really did enjoy this. Actually, a friend had sent this to me on my Bookstagram. She was so excited for me to read it, and I felt so bad because I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would. It kind of has that cheating trope again where I was just like, this is kind of weird. But I did like that it was between the mother and daughter. It was more focused on a mother and daughter than focused on like romance like most of her novels. So it was good, but it just wasn't my favorite compared to some of her other like amazing books. Okay, I'm gonna try and go through this a little bit faster because I don't want this video to be like super duper long. Yeah, so we have An Honest Lie. I really liked this. It was a good thriller. It was about like a cult, which I didn't expect, and I didn't really read that on the back. But if you're looking for a good thriller, I enjoyed this. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is actually the first Emily Henry book I read. I really enjoyed this. It was a really cute little fluffy romance novel, nothing like crazy. Stay With Me by Mila Gray. I did not enjoy this at all. I actually include this in a book like reading vlog. It was just a very cheesy like military romance type book, and I simply just did not enjoy. Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I actually DNF'd this. I was reading this during that point in my life where I was moving, so again, I might have just not been able to get into it because I was in a book slump. So I might give it another chance in the future. But yeah, I actually DNF'd this like 75% of the way through. I read The Inheritance Games this summer. I know the third book literally just came out. I need to go pick it up, but I read the first and the second book. I really like this. This is a 5-star series for me. Different from what I usually read, but I really enjoyed it. Speaking of series, I also read As Good as Dead, which is the third book in the third book on a good guide. The third book in a good guide girls. It's the third book in a good girl's guide to murder. That's a really tongue twister apparently. So I finished this series off this summer. I really enjoyed it. Actually, the first book of the series was the first book I read in 2022, so I definitely spaced it out, but I really enjoyed it. It's a cute little YA thriller type vibe. Next one, I feel like a lot of people might hate on me, but I DNF'd Normal People by Sally Rooney. I actually was reading this the literal day that I was moving, so I tried to read this like in the moving truck, and I did not understand it. Her writing was so confusing to me, and I just like literally could not tell you what was happening in this book. I think I might give it another chance in the future, because maybe again it was just like a weird period in my life. Let me know if I should give this another chance, because I DNF'd it and I did not like it. You've Reached Sam. I didn't like this book at all. I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just giving my honest reviews, but it was really confusing to me and kind of like weird in a sense. And also I feel like we didn't get to meet Sam before he like dies, which you already know that's on the back of the book. So like there was no connection to the character, so I didn't feel sad, like if that makes sense. Like not in like a crappy way, but like if you're not connected to the character, it's not gonna be as like heartfelt. So I just did not enjoy this book at all. Then I read Darling Venom, which I really liked. It was really sad, really different, a very thick book. I really enjoyed her, and yeah, I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. I read The Guest List by Lucy Foley, which again, like in August, I kind of creeped into the thrillers, as you can tell. I really liked this book. I know it's kind of mixed reviews. I do plan on reading more of her books because I just love thrillers. It was different. It also had like a wedding theme, which I'm about to get married, so that was exciting to read. I read Every Summer After, like I think everybody read this summer. It was compared to Love in Other Words, and I feel like it really let me down because I really love Love in Other Words. I feel like this was kind of like a knockoff in a way. I don't mean to be mean, but because I did read Love in Other Words, I feel like I wasn't excited when I was reading this, because I'm like, it was very similar in a way, and that one was a lot better. The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I think this might be a series. I'm honestly not sure, but I don't think I'll pick up the rest of it. I liked this one, but I wasn't obsessed with it. It kind of put me into a reading slump in a way. So this book was like okay-ish. It's kind of like one of those like wouldn't read it again, but it wasn't like horrible to get through type things. And my last physical book I have in front of me is 56 Days. This actually literally picked up in August. It was on like the Barnes & Noble like sale table, and I was like never heard anything about it. And it's actually based around Cove, fill in the blank. I don't know if I say it if you get like demonetized or anything, which is kind of different. It wasn't like enjoyable to read about that, but it was also like present kind of, and it is a thriller that is based around like what could have happened during that time. So I did like that, if that makes sense. Now moving on to my Kindle reads of the summer. I'm really trying to get better about reading on my Kindle as well, because I do pay for Amazon like monthly whatever. I read the Mind F series, and that was 5 books. I'm not gonna name them all, but I read them all, and that was one of my absolute favorite series, and again one of my favorite books of 2022. I loved that. I read Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I actually did not enjoy this book at all. Again, it's like a super hyped up book, but I also have heard some really bad reviews about it too, luckily, because I don't want to be the only one. But the ending was so weird, like literally so weird. If you've read it, you know. If you know, you know. But I did not like that. I've read The Confidence of Wildflowers and The Resurrection of Wildflowers. I loved those books so much, so much. I gave them 5 stars. I really enjoyed them. Then I read Say You Swear, which is a really popular book. I gave it 2 stars. I did not enjoy it. I feel like there were so many characters in the beginning that were just like name dropped over and over. It didn't give me time to like understand who was who and whatnot, and it was also a really long book. And I think the last book I read on my Kindle was Flock, which is the first book in the Raven Hood series. I gave that a 3.5 stars because it's kind of confused at first. It's kind of weird with the whole like 2 guy thing. Again, if you've read, you know, you know. But I am actually reading the second book because everyone's saying to give it a chance, so I will be giving it a chance. All right, guys, my camera just overheated, so we're gonna finish this intro out or outro on my iPhone. But I feel like I didn't do too bad for the circumstances. I'm still on track to read 100 books this year. That is my Goodreads goal. So if you want to follow me on Goodreads, you can be friends. It's in the link in bio, along with my Bookstagram and all that fun stuff. Yeah, I think I'm at like 66 or 67 books right now. Yes, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully I'll have a lot more book content coming out soon now that I'm like kind of settled into a routine. And I'll see you guys in the next one.